Hello everyone, welcome back to my Roblox Studio tutorial. In today's episode we're going to learn more about Roblox Studio and mainly the definition of instances, which is key to learning Roblox Studio. If you haven't opened it already, just go to the Roblox Studio app. But today we're going to look at mainly the Explore tab and what are these? Well, like I said earlier, the main question of what are instances? Well, they're basically something. So this workspace is called an instance.
Players is also an instance. Lighting is also an instance. Material service.
And you get the point, etc. And you also have everything else here that's a thing. So let's get into these. So what is the workspace? Well, it contains all the things that you see in Roblox. So here it's under this part that was from last episode that I named, well, and also the parts name and the spawn location are both in workspace, and because they're visible. So if you hold a instance or something, if you just drag it into whatever, well, it's not going to be visible anymore. As you can see, it's gone. But if I just press Control Z, or I go to right click, and then, well, you can't really see it, but you get the idea, and then I press Control Z, and now it's back. So anything that's in the workspace is visible, well, unless it's a transparency of 1 and not opaque. Next, we have the Players tab. This instance contains the players, so as you can see, this is my username, and it contains your backpack, which is what tools you have in your inventory, and your player scripts, which we'll get into a bit. But here is what it contains. You have your character ID, your character, the display name, parent, and the user ID, and the character ID and the user ID are the same. Now I didn't really go over the workspace. So what is in the workspace? So you have the class name, you have your archivable, and you have your current camera. Now this is what your camera is bind to and what it displays. So this is the current camera, which is this camera. So you have your camera. So if I just, but it has to be a different camera. It cannot just be a part or whatever, since it doesn't have an actual camera. So you only have this camera here, which is your studio camera. You have the parent, which is your game name, and you have the unique ID, origins. Now you can actually move everything that's in the workspace except for terrain, even though it's in the workspace. Terrain cannot be moved unless you use the terrain tools. Moving on, we have lighting. This shows what your game looks like and its lighting effects. So you'll have something like this, but you'll probably have depth of field and sun rays. But here you'll most likely have the atmosphere and sky. If I delete the atmosphere, that'll make it so I can see everything, which gives it more of depth and fog feeling. But the lighting, if you go to lighting, it also has fog. It's usually at this number, but so if I just lower this, you'll see it's dark. You can also change the color of the fog. That is more straightforward. And if I just make this 0, well, you can't see anything. It's gonna be all white, so that's why the fog end is all the way there. But what is the fog start? So let's add a few to this. Now it's not gonna really do anything, but if I lower this, you can see it's a bit more sharp. You can see at the edges of the fog. So if I just lower this by 10, you can see it's more smoother now. So if I just do that, then it's gonna be very sharp. There's more of your basis and where the fog and its transition and blend is. So 100, 90, and as you can see, it's slightly smoother. And you get the idea. But let's look more into the lighting. So we have our ambient, which controls the sort of temperature or color of the world. Your brightness is, well, your brightness, how bright everything is except the sky. The color shift and color top aren't important right now. The environment diffuse scale allows you to change color and reflectance of some textures. So you can see like the texture of the ice over there becomes darker and brighter. Environment specular scale only changes parts. So as you can see, the base plate slightly changes. if I just shift this, you can see this vibrant color of it just slowly disappears. Global shadows, if you have a render distance full, this will disable real-time shadows. Outdoor ambient, this will change the outdoor type of the outside, so as you can see it's more vibrant. If I change this to blue, then say white, it's gonna be very flat. Shadow softness allows you to change the softness of shadows, so you can see it's a bit more rough here than if I just do that. It's gonna be very soft, but it's gonna be pretty inaccurate, so you'll most likely have this at 0 or at default 0.2. Technology allows you to change the lighting technology, so at default it's shadow map. The future is more realistic looking, so you have like lighting effects. Voxel is the most basic Roblox technology. It doesn't really add any shadows, but it adds soft shadows, except you have global shadows disabled. The clock time allows you to change the time, and this also changes the time of day, which is by military time. So I can change this to midnight, which is clock time 0, or time of day 0. As you can see, it's nighttime, but if I change this to say 12, it's going to be directly above, since it's halfway on the line. Geographic latitude allows you to change the position of the sun or moon, so now it's kind of a bit to the side here. And like real life, if you're on different parts of the earth, the sun and moon position will change and offset by the clock time. And you have your exposure, which allows you to change the exposure of everything. Anyways, moving on. Material service contains the overrides for each material, so like the material tab here, you have the assigned materials, so you can just make it none if you want. So if I just go to, so this is a plastic. This is a plastic material. And say if I go to the material service and we go to plastic here, then I click none. Well, it's not going to really register that, but it will still probably most likely be plastic as the default. So now if you actually scroll all the way down here, you find the material packs, and you can uncheck use 2022 materials. If you turn that off, you'll see that the materials change, and these will turn into the old textures that were before 2022. Your network client allows the relationship between the server and the client. The replicate first allows sharing from the server to the client, but it can't do vice versa. Your replicated storage allows you to store any instances. Server script service allows you to add scripts to the server. Server storage only sends data to the server but not the client. The starter GUI contains what your HUD or UI elements start with. The starter pack allows you to add starting tools to the player. The starter player contains starting settings for the player, so you have things like your health display name and the distance, the display name, distance, your max zoom in and out, camera mode, which allows you to go from classic or lock to first person, which is basically the camera max zoom distance at 0.5. The dev camera occlusion mode allows you to add a invis cam or zoom cam when you're editing in Roblox Studio. The dev computer camera movement allows you to change the camera type of the camera. The dev touch camera movement allows you to change the camera type when you're using tablets and other mobile devices. In the character tab, you have character max slope, gives the player a max angle of climbing. The character walk speed allows you to make the character either fast or slow. Enable dynamic heads allows you to add dynamic heads to your game by either default, enabled, or disabled. Load character appearance allows you to load the appearance of the character user ID. Load character layered clothing allows you to add layered clothing or not layered clothing to your game. User emotes enabled. If your game's R15, you can either enable emotes or disable them. Character jump settings. You have your jump height, or you can use the jump power. So again, with the metrics of jump power and jump height. These are different, but they both have the same property. In the controls, we have the dev computer movement mode, which can help you change the movement mode of the computer, which is your scriptable keyboard and click to move and the user's choice, which is by default. You have other options like thumbstick, the thumb pad, enable mouse lock option, which is shift lock, allows you to either shift lock or not. And mobile, you have auto jump. Now if you're not mobile, you'll notice that you'll probably jump automatically over an obstacle. This is what you can enable or disable. Moving on, you have teams. This can separate players into groups. Sound service contains the default properties of sound. So you got the ambience, so you can change it to any preset, which makes it more accurate. The default listener location allows you to either make it so that the default, like if it's in Roblox or in the workspace, a sound, you either change like the sound source to the camera, the character, or just by default. The distance factor allows you to change the default distance of the sound. The Doppler scale isn't really important. We have our ID, and the volumetric audio allows you to enable it or disable it. Finally, we got text chat service, and we have the translation chat AI. You can either enable or disable that. The chat version, which is either the legacy chat and the text chat. That's all the things in Explorer. However, these are actually unique since they're actually called classes, since they're a main part of every Roblox game, and it contains almost everything. Anyways, inside of the all of these, first for starter player, these contain starter character scripts and starter player scripts. Now, starter character scripts are scripts that go inside of the character model. Then you have starter player scripts, which put scripts that you contain in these into the players and the player scripts. Now, in the network client, we have the client replicator. In the text chat service, we have many ways of changing the chat UI. So you can change it to any font you want. So if I just change this to, say, Luckiest Guy, if I just click play and I go here, as you can see, it's very big, but it does change the font. And you got other things like the text color, the stroke color. You can change it to either be centered to the right or to the left. You can change the vertical alignment from the top, center, or bottom. And you can either enable or disable the chat. The input bar allows you to change the input bar's text as well, and the color and size. The channel tabs configuration, again, allows you to change the color, but the background, the font, and other text. But this is off by default, so if I enable this by going down to behavior and clicking enabled, I can see this, which is the general, and these are tabs that separate Roblox chats. Bubble chat configuration allows you to change the look of the Roblox chat. So you got any elements to change your Roblox bubbles, which are what the text and message they type it above their character. So say if I just change this background to black, then I make the text white by going to the bubble chat configuration and changing these. If I click play, and then I just go and type whatever I want, you can see it's now black and white. And I think that's pretty cool. So you can add personality to default Roblox instances. But I think that's going to be all for now. And so I'll see you guys in the next video.